Mama. No.
Hi, thank you, Marco. Hi, everyone. This is October 30th, 2025, and we are continuing a discussion about forgiveness tonight. Um, and and we've got lots of things in the works that we're going to be talking about next week. So just hang in there and we'll get to it. But forgiveness can lead to can there's a lot of different roads we can go down. But to start with, let's let's do our introductions. That's the name you want to be called, your pronouns, and the answer to the icebreaker question that Leo's going to bring us.
Okay, you go.
Okay. Hi, everybody. My name is Leo. Pronouns are he, him. And today's question is, what's a poem, song lyric, or movie quote that you will remember forever? I was just talking about this with Liam today because Liam asked me if we had seen 2-1-Fu, right? And I'm like, oh yes, I've seen it. My husband had never seen 2-1-Fu. I had to introduce him to it.
Oh,
And
cute.
yes, and the famous quote that I will always remember forever.
Discussing the movie 200.
Sorry. The famous quote is what does he say?
I don't know what I can't read your mind.
It's like, oh, she's a Latina. She's got more legs than a bucket of chicken.
Hey. Oh, that's cute.
Yes. Okay. Okay. Let me see. I'm looking up the quote. Okay. Yes. Okay. Hi everybody. My name is Jared. My pronouns are any/all. And my favorite movie quote would be is from my favorite movie, Everything Everywhere All at Once. And it's the specific quote goes something like, I'm just gonna read it. When I choose to see the good side of things, I'm not being naive. It is strategic and necessary. It's how I've learned to survive through everything. I know you see yourself as a fighter. Well, I see myself as one too. This is how I fight. The only thing I do know is that we have to be kind. Please be kind, especially when we don't know what's going on.
Amen.
Oh, wow, that's awesome.
Oh,
You might have to text that one to me or something. I gotta remember that.
It's my favorite movie.
Okay, Marco, you want to go next?
Oh, how about you?
I'm Carol, she, her, and gosh, I always have trouble deciding. So there's a lot more lyrics, but I think I'm going to go with this one. It seems appropriate. It's from Annie DeFranco, My IQ. So it's pretty old. Silence is violence for women and poor people. If more people were screaming, then I could relax.
I love it.
So, oh, we have somebody new. So Marco, look, I put you as King Marco because that was your Halloween costume last year, and so since you're switching to Mouse Marco tomorrow, I figured you might want to be King Marco one more day.
Oh,
It's like a line. Here, I'll tell you one, but first say your name and pronouns.
okay. I have by Mag
Yeah, you don't have to talk about the mouse yet. We'll tell Okay, how about one from Remember the Titans? That's our since we've seen that movie like 100,000 times. How about
like my cake, Coke.
you're overcooking my grits, coach? I love that line. I love that line. Okay, we'll go in the order that we came on. George?
Good.
Hey, I'm George. That's it. I'm George. And this is really easy for me because it's been with me all my life. My favorite line of a song is from In the Garden. It's my favorite song. I've already told Krager that when I die, that's one of the songs that they've got to sing for me, Forever Blessed. But the way I grew up and the way I came through life, I just feel like I've been alone. And so when it says, and he walks with me and he talks with me, it just melts my heart because that's God with me. And he walks with me and he talks with me. I actually have someone doing that with me. So that's my favorite.
Awesome. Lynn, I think you came on next.
Okay. I really wish I could think of a movie. I mean, I've seen so many movies in the course of my life, and the one that popped right into my head was the movie They Called Me Mr. Tibbs, and the line in the movie when he says they called me Mr. Tibbs, because that was an affirmation, a black man, you know, who was a detective, and he was like standing up for himself. So that popped immediately into my head. And I think that's probably one that I would stick with. I remember that I don't know how long ago that movie was, but I remember seeing Sidney Poitier say that, and I thought, hey, that's really
Awesome.
good. And I'm Lynn. She hurt. Sorry about that.
Awesome. Okay, Krager?
Okay, good.
He, they, and my favorite movie line of all time is "They're here." I have seen Poltergeist at least 25 times, if not more. And at one point, I had the entire dialogue memorized from the start to finish of that movie. And the reason I saw it so many times is because when I used to play drums in the bands and we were playing at hotels and stuff like that, we'd go back to our room after the band job and you turn on HBO and Poltergeist was playing almost every night. And so I would literally sit there and watch it over, and I was just fascinated with that movie. They're here.
Okay, Suzette?
Okay, good.
Hey guys, Suzette, she, her, and my favorite movie for a very long time has been Duets. And the main character in the movie leaves his family and goes on a vision quest of a kind. And he comes back, and part of the vision quest was him singing karaoke in bars all over the place while he found himself. And he said, when he got back home, he said to his wife, I can't go back to the person I was. I'm different now. I sing.
Aw,
Wow.
That's
Oh,
my favorite line
nice.
ever in a movie.
That's
That's me.
okay. We've got
duets. I've never seen that show. Duets?
haven't either. So now I'll have to look it up now that you
Yeah.
said.
Yeah, it's good. It's got oh my gosh. Never mind. I can't think, but I'll put it in the chat.
Wasn't Huey Lewis in that movie?
Oh my. Back in
Yeah,
that.
Huey Lewis from Huey Lewis in the News.
Okay.
Okay, we've got somebody that I think is new on that is not on camera. So the name that comes up is Jagadisha, if I'm saying that right. And so I'd like to what we do at the beginning is just say our name that we want to be called tonight and our pronouns. And tonight's icebreaker question is a line from a movie or a lyric from a song that you'll never forget. Would you like to join us in answering that?
Yes, thank you. Hi, everybody. This is Joseph. Some of you know me. George
Hi, Joseph.
has had the Hey, I'm actually waving and I'm trying to figure out how to get my camera back on, but I'll figure it out momentarily. Thank you for your patience, everybody.
No problem.
So I recently had a conversation about this topic, actually. My favorite line from a song is from the Foreigner song. I want to know what love is. I want you to show me.
Oh,
Oh, that's
And
beautiful.
Krishna Das does his own version of that. Weaves it into one of his kirtans. So that's how it got into my mind and my heart.
Oh, beautiful. That's wonderful. So
I'm so
y'all,
glad you're here, Joseph, and the puppy.
yes, thank you.
Thank
Welcome.
you. I'm happy to be here.
Um,
Thank you all.
so the topic tonight, we're kind of continuing a discussion on forgiveness. I feel like we kind of just touched on the edge of it, and we kind of left with a little bit of, back and forth. So I want and I want to, in the chat, I have posted not some of the things that I've posted previously, including the guidelines, which are at the beginning. And I would like us to kind of keep an open mind. So some of the guidelines that I would like to bring forward. Oh, hi, Joseph. Now we can see you.
Amber.
It are both and also it's okay to disagree. It is really that's kind of the spice of some of these discussions, but it is not okay to shame or blame yourself or others. What's funny, while we were talking about these lines from movies or songs, I thought of um I thought after I had gone of not definitely not my favorite line, but one that is kind of the antithesis to forgiveness. It's, hello, my name is Diego Montoya. You killed my father. Prepare to die. So, um, so that was kind of an example of revenge as in terms of, and I mean, sometimes we use in our culture, we use terms like justice sometimes when we mean somebody's getting punished for what they've done or something like that. And that's not the way I tend to use justice. To me, justice is more about equity, about um, people getting a equal chances, people getting a fair shake, and making the playing field as level as possible so that everyone has similar opportunities. We're not all the same. We're so different, but a lot of people seem to face more challenges than others, and to me, justice is about making that more right. Oh, that's your arm. Sorry. Um, so, and we talked a little bit last time about a difference between forgiveness and justice, but before I'm sorry, I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself. Let's kind of go back to the basics. One of the things that I'd like to start with is just by kind of um, framing or reframing forgiveness, um, and in my mind, forgiveness is not saying what you did was okay. It's like saying I refuse to let the harm that you did to me define my heart. Forgiveness is like an inner release of bitterness and resentment. And an act that you could say was more about spiritual autonomy, not about moral surrender at all. And so I do want to talk some about reconciliation too, which
Okay.
does involve more, but I would also um, like to um, I wonder, and I bet I see Jared has their hand up, but and I bet Jared would be the one to answer this, or be one to answer this. Have you ever felt pressured to forgive too quickly or in a way that felt unsafe?
Okay, go you.
Well,
All right.
I think I kind of want to, because like hearing your definition really does clarify a lot of things. Because like the word you use, forgiveness, to me, that word means acceptance, right? Like accepting the things that we cannot change, accepting the things that, we've gone through, accepting these things, right? For me, forgiveness, like, is like a part is a part of like reconciliation, right? It's a part of like restorative actions, right? It's like a restorative process, right? So I guess for me, it was a definition thing, because like that whole I'm not gonna let you hold my heart hostage part, like, yeah, like that's for me, that word means acceptance, right? Like accepting that, hey, I'm here, hey, this has happened, hey, we're in this space together, right? Hey, I don't like you, I don't know you, I don't whatever, right? But I accept what you've done, I accept who I am because of what I've gone through, right? And we can move forward, right? But for me, forgiveness is a distinct process, right? It's a distinct process with distinct steps and distinct, like emotional thresholds that need to be crossed, right? And that is independent of the internal psychological process we go through whenever we're coping with trauma. And like I say this as a person of color that has had to reckon with a lot of things that were outside of my control, right? That I've had to accept a lot of things that are outside of my power to manipulate or really do anything about, right? Like having to accept being pulled over for no reason, and having to accept that I had to take 20 more precautions, right? To just to survive, when I'm just literally 1 mile over the speed limit in in the wrong neighborhood. And so yeah, like but yeah, like I with that I can say there is been pressure that I've observed from lots of like, because I work in the psychological space, right? As a clinician, right? There's pressure from like my coworkers even to pressure their clients to, move too fast through these painful feelings, right? To just like not exactly use any of that painful feeling to make effective change, right? But just, hey, why can't y'all, why can't you cope better with capitalism, right? Like, why can't you just cope better with this abusive relationship, right? And I often found myself reminding them, hey, you have to acknowledge the systemic barriers. You have to acknowledge and give voice to the feelings. You have to, like create time and space, and before you can even think about the F word, but moving them towards accepting the reality of their situation, I agree with, right? And I've always agreed with. But moving them too quickly to forget, oh, that's traumatizing, because that's like saying, hey, get back with your ex. You're right. Like,
yeah, I see what you're saying, and I think that points out some of the difference between forgiveness versus reconciliation too, that we can go to next after the hands that are raised. But and like, so yeah, forgiveness is something I think that you can do alone, but reconciliation is something that requires both parties to walk through. So, so an example that I've heard is like when people say, if you've forgiven them, why don't you talk to them? And the answer may simply be because forgiveness freed me, not them. So that's just one example. Well, welcome, Reverend Mona and Dr. Jackie. Just raise your hand if you're ready to add anything. George?
Yeah, wow, forgiveness. Forgiveness is something that has been in my life. I feel like I grew up very sheltered. And when I got out in the world and into college, I was clueless. And some people would say I'm still clueless, but I can laugh at it. I can laugh at me now. But I did things that weren't so good. And I had friends who helped me along and knew that I wasn't doing it on purpose, or my heart wasn't that way, but I just was a little bit crooked, cockeyed, whatever. And so with the power and the love of my friends and people that surrounded me and stayed with me, thank God they stayed with me, I've learned myself as far as me forgiving. I want to know the whole story. If something is said to me, or someone did something to me, or someone did something to my friend, or something did somebody, I want to know the whole story. I don't want to just hear something and run with it. And so forgiveness to me embodies much more than George. Forgiveness, I want to hear their story. I want to hear what was going on. It's just like if you're going through a line and someone is crappy to you, or they're having a bad day, or they're short, and I'm going, I guess they're having a bad day. Okay, so I'm gonna pray for them, because I don't want to judge them in that way and be quick about it. So forgiveness has always been a present and grace that's been given to me, and so I try to live my life that way and give it to others. That makes sense.
That makes absolute sense, and it makes me think of the Lord's Prayer. You know, forgive them, forgive us as we forgive others. Suzette?
Yeah.
You're on mute.
He's getting it.
I think forgiveness is deeply personal. And I look at the spectrum of forgiveness. I look at Jesus on the cross, right? And he says, "Forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do." Right? So he's forgiving the humans, but not their behavior, I think, is what, like, how could anyone say they don't know what they do? You know what I mean? It unravels the onion a lot with that. And then there's the other end of the spectrum, and it's like, well, how could they forgive that person for doing that? Like that political person that was shot some weeks ago in Utah, and the wife at the funeral said, "I forgive that person," and everybody was like, "Oh, how could she forgive so quickly?" You know, and it's like, we do not decide somebody else's definition of forgiveness, and we don't decide what the not the parameters, but the what makes up that forgiveness. Like, again, it's deeply personal. And if we take forgiveness and we make it a bad thing, then what do we have left? You know, love and forgiveness, I kind of think are almost something that goes hand in hand. They're not synonymous, but I think it's so important that we recognize that when someone else is having a hard time forgiving, that it's not up to us to rush them along or tell them they shouldn't feel that way, or give them negativity because they won't toe the line and go with what the status quo thinks they should. So that's my point.
Those are some really good points. And so I want to
I never know if I make sense sometimes. I sit here thinking before I open my mouth, and I'm like, did that come out the way I wanted it to? So I hope you got my meaning.
I've never, I've never thought you were stumbling over your words or anything. So thank you for sharing, and I hope everyone feels comfortable sharing and because all of your contributions are beautiful. Okay, before I do anything, Jared and Leo.
It's okay, so said. Sometimes I feel that way. Because I tell my husband all the time, I was like, maybe I'll like, I don't know. I feel like I didn't make sense. But anyhow, um, I think that forgiveness also has a limit because I say it from experience because of what I went through with my stepdad. Um, it was, it was very hard, and I forgive them like unlimited amount of times. And um, and now this very last time, I forgive him, but I had to set very firm boundaries to where now it's just that we can be in the same room, but we don't have a relationship,
Mm.
and it sucks. But yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It comes with boundaries.
Mhm.
Comes with limitations.
Yes,
Is your
boundaries.
mom and stepdad together
Yeah.
still? Okay,
Mhm.
Yeah.
that makes it even harder.
Yes,
Mhm.
absolutely.
Because we love mom.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Boundaries, my therapist said this to me this week. Boundaries are a very loving thing.
Mhm.
Without boundaries, yeah, it's hard for um it, it's hard for love to bloom in a full way. So I'm just going to read you something that made sense to me. Forgiveness that denies consequences is cheap. Genuine forgiveness actually creates space for justice. It
Mhm.
stops the cycle of vengeance so that truth and healing can begin. True true forgiveness doesn't erase consequences, it creates the conditions for honest accountability. This is why forgiveness and justice are not opposites, they're partners. Justice deals with actions, forgiveness deals with the heart. And I think that's kind of where we um, had left things at the last time we talked about what was making that distinction between like forgiveness and justice, that uh, forgiveness doesn't require um, reparations, but justice does. Justice very definitely does. So, Joseph?
Uh, I had a memory, some distinct memories around forgiveness, and in the past several years, have had the height of my happiness of life happen at the same time as the depth of disappointment and pain. And as I was going through both of those things, um, I had a group of people around me who were very friendly and supportive no matter what. And they kept getting my pronouns wrong because I was transitioning, and that was part of my happiness. So they had known me, as she, her for such a long time. And um, what I would say to them is, you are preemptively forgiven. And please apologize. And then try to say he at least 3 times while we're here. And so that's a very small example of maybe how I was um, instantaneously called to set boundaries. And if you would have asked me what to do before that moment, I would have told you I don't know. I don't know how to handle this, and I'm not even sure about the word forgiveness. But I also read something recently from a spiritual teaching that said, sort of, if you know God is love, if you know God is love, then you will see no difference between you and me, between anything ever again. If you once you know God is love, in other words, you know we are all one. And I think that's the only place that could have come from in those moments when I was really hurting so deeply, and I knew these people were here to support me, and I could somehow in those little 30-second interactions, I knew that we were one. I knew that love is what we're all made of, so to speak. And so I'm grateful to this day, even for all of the pain that prompted me um, to realize this in many moments. Yeah, thank you for hearing that.
That is beautiful. Oh my gosh. That's mm, that's that's absolutely fantastic. I'm so touched by that. So let me ask another question since I don't see any other hands up. How might forgiveness actually empower victims or survivors rather than silence them? George?
I have trouble finding that little hand. I'm going down here. Which one is it? Which one is it? Can you repeat the question? Because I had the answer, but I forgot the question.
Okay. How might forgiveness actually empower victims or survivors rather than silence them?
Oh my God, forgiveness. If you don't forgive or you don't give the other person a chance, I mean, if we take back and forth right now, we don't know anything back here or over there. And you and me even in that situation might not even be in the right place. So forgiveness entails just not a reaction, it entails a whole story, a whole environment. And it's our choice to stay in our little box, or it's our choice to go out of that box and truly be love. As Joseph said, God is love. That was what we're supposed to do, is love everyone.
Well, I guess I'm not going to have to do that rewrap at the end of this about what this tells us about God, because y'all are nailing it. Wow. Okay, Suzette.
I think it's been said in different ways, but it just opens the doors of reciprocation. And I think all of us have been at that point in our lives where we said, I can't forgive that person. Too damaged. I'm too damaged. I cannot forgive that person. And especially when it's someone in your close proximity of a world, like a family member or a past relationship person. And again, you can forgive him and you can open the door, but still say, I'm not gonna talk, um I'm not gonna encourage reciprocation until I know I'm safe. Because I mean, there's still a person in my life that I forgave her a million times, but I don't feel safe that that's never going to happen again. And I have a family member where I don't want to have anything to do with you. You've burned the bridge so many times. I just can't anymore. And I still forgive him because it's my mom that is begging me to forget, I mean, you know me, I love everybody. And, for me to for me to cut you off, you gotta really make some kind of irrevocable communication with me that makes me feel like I cannot go near you anymore because you're a danger to my psyche. So I think leaving doors open is a good energy, even though you put the boundaries up, energy still flows back and forth. And maybe, if that person maybe has mental health issues or, who knows? But miracles happen, and maybe that person will have a miracle in their life, and they'll become that acceptable person again. But I don't want to burn all my bridges. Anyway, keep the doors open.
That reminds me of a kid that Marco had in class one time who had Tourette syndrome, and he would punch his, he couldn't help it, but he had involuntary movements where, and Marco got in the way a couple of times and Marco got hurt. But Marco had some talks with me and his teacher, and well, without really any intervention of what we did, he came around to his own, and it was just like they became like almost best friends. And Marco's just like, oh yeah, I just learned to stay, 20 feet away, but we're friends from 20 feet away. So anyway, what you said about just understanding where they might be coming from, like if they have, like perhaps if there's some neurodivergence or something that might be playing a part in that, then that's what made me think of it. So thank you for bringing that. Very touching.
Thank you.
Lynn?
Yeah, go.
So to answer your question, I think that it has been my experience that forgiveness often helps the forgiver much more than it helps the person who needs to be forgiven. Because it gives you some release if you are able to let go of feelings of resentment or anger or injustice that may have been committed to you. It kind of restores your frame of mind and sensibility. Probably the most difficult forgiveness that I had to give was with my mother, because I didn't meet her until I was 21. And so I spent the first 21 years of my life wondering why my mother abandoned me and, was nowhere around, why I had no memory of her, didn't know her name until I saw her name on my birth certificate. And that was a very difficult journey to forgiveness. But I was relieved when I was able to forgive her for what I thought was a deep injustice to me as her firstborn daughter. And I actually didn't forgive her until she was near death. I forgave her. I told myself I forgave her, and then I really didn't, and I probably went another 10 or 15 years. But the day I forgave her was when I walked into her hospital bed, into her hospital room, and she didn't know who I was because she had Alzheimer's. But she looked at me and she said, "I know you. I know who you are. I remember you." And immediately, a feeling of total forgiveness came over me, and I walked out of that room and said, it's okay. Someone had said to me earlier in life when I was like 22 or 23, you have to let people off the hook because they may not know Sometimes people don't know that they've offended. Sometimes people don't know that what they've done or what they've said, because they're caught up in their own world. And so we have to let people off the hook. And then I put something in the chat that says, adapted from the Bible, forgiveness is a profound expression of God's love and grace. And I think of Amazing Grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. And it is a central theme in the teaching of Jesus, which is forgive, his Lord's Prayer. Forgive us as we forgive others. And I believe it is a crucial practice for believers who seek to live according to God's will, because we have to forgive others just as God has forgiven us. And then even if you look in the secular, in the dictionary of psychology, forgiveness is willfully putting aside feelings of resentment toward an individual who has committed a wrong toward you, been unfair or hurtful, and otherwise harmed you. That's a willingness to forgive. So forgiveness is love. It is the essence of love. It is why, we follow this Christian journey. And I don't think in one of the few times that I disagree with Jared, I don't believe it has anything to do with reconciliation, because my mother and I never reconciled. She passed away and we never reconciled, because part of it was she had Alzheimer's near the end of her life. And we never reconciled. We never had a real relationship. I met her, we talked, we met, we visited. She became mother to me, but we never reconciled. So I don't believe that forgiveness has anything to do with reconciliation. I think we do it because it's what God calls us to do, and it's part of living the Christian journey. And I also will say it is not an easy thing.
That's exactly what I was going to add, that it is not easy. And, just being a Christian doesn't make it any easier. And sometimes it takes longer than others. And I think you said something about being open to it and being open to what God wants for us, and still that may not be an immediate thing, but being open to it is the first step. I think that's so right, and it's so real. Joseph?
Go, girl.
The first thing that came to mind was boundaries. I guess the question being about how can we use forgiveness, or how can forgiveness help us have a voice instead of be silent? Because a lot, I am silent, and forgiveness for me has mostly happened in silence, and I do feel like it's preemptive, and I'm not sure where it comes from. So I'm gonna have to say God. I'm gonna have to say that that's how the God in me can be expressed. That's how I can be the love. Forgiveness is how I get to be the love. And with that comes a clarity that seems to happen pretty instantaneously. I find that it's rarely planned. I heard someone say of patience, you don't really have patience. It just patience is something that happens. It's a way of being in the world. And I kind of am feeling that way about forgiveness. It's a little surprising to me. But what happens with the clarity, looking in hindsight, is that I drop these expectations. I've dropped all the expectations when I'm being the love. I don't have an expectation that you're supposed to act a certain way. I don't have an expectation that you're supposed to treat me a certain way. Because I'm focused on being the love. And really, that honestly, in my experience, in these slivers of time when I can get there, and actually just allow myself to be the love, the expectations fall away and the boundary is very clear and it comes up. And so the first thing I typed in the chat was boundaries. And I think that we can give a voice to boundaries. And that's certainly what I found myself doing in the example that I gave. And in these past years, before I got to Houston here, certainly became very, very much more skilled at setting a boundary and using my voice. So I appreciate that question.
Oops, I was muted.
You're on mute, Carol.
I was, I was just saying that's, wow, I hope that I can get to that place. And especially what you said about dropping the expectation about what another person is supposed to be. I hope that's, I hope I can get to that too. I want to take just a second, y'all, to notice the mountains behind me. Because next week, the time changes. I think it's going to be dark. Some of these meetings, it's been too bright. You couldn't see them, but I just wanted y'all to notice my mountains. It's just beautiful.
Beautiful.
I saw them in person. And it's such a beautiful place. Wow.
Good to see you. And you came at the
Beautiful.
perfect time of year with all the golden leaves around.
I would like to go back.
All right, Jared, back to the subject.
So I think the most important difference, whenever I'm talking about reparations, I'm talking about systems. People and systems are different, and they have different rules in the Bible and in reality, right? Because when Moses did that thing that he did where he made that miracle out of pride, he was outlawed from the promised land, right? When you are in a position of power and you oppress, the rules are different. You have responsibilities that you must maintain. You must be just, you must be good, you must not harm, because the weight of your decisions, they affect people at an inordinate scale. It's not the same thing as my daddy harmed me or my mommy, said something wrong to me, right? It is mountains of people that you harm when you attach yourself to white supremacy, when you attach yourself to capital, when you attach yourself to all of these different things. And so whenever we're talking about forgiveness, I will not extend forgiveness to white supremacy because it's not a person, right? It's not created in the image of God. It doesn't have all the same rules, right? I will not extend forgiveness to capital because it's an object, right? Right? But also, the attachment to it has done so much harm and continues to do it in all of our institutions, right? Whenever we're talking about all of the isms, right, that oppress us, no, absolutely not, right? Can never be, because they're still killing us, right? Still killing us. And so, yeah, so whenever I'm speaking of forgiveness, right, that's what I mean by reparations are necessary, right? Because it's much on a person-to-personal basis, right? There's so many ways that you could forgive without the step of reparations, right? There are quite a few, actually, right? Just have a close friendship and just mess up once, right? And then you'll find that these ways will appear, right? But when you're talking about a person in a position of power, othering multitudes of people of color for years, I think reparations are the bare minimum. At least that's just my belief system.
Yeah, yeah, there's certainly for uh, as I said previously, I think reparations are necessary for justice to happen. So that's an interesting distinction in regards to forgiveness. But reparations are, yeah, I think are definitely necessary for there to be justice. And well, George.
Yeah, that brings up an interesting. I have been a person in power, and I have run programs. I've owned my own business, and I have stepped out and did some wrong, 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 wrong. Oh my God, wrong. Not realizing, not being intentional, but not realizing who I've stepped on or where I've stepped on or what kind of muck I've made. But I was open enough to learn, and the people that I hurt, most of them, I can't say 100% of them, but most of them gave me a second and third and fourth and fifth chance to learn how to do it right. Because what I want, I never, oh, it hurts me so much when I hurt somebody. Because my heart is true, but I've just stepped all over and it hurts me. And the first thing I want to do is make it right. Or I mean, I'll apologize to you over and over and over, but that's not good enough. I know, but I want to understand what I've done, and I want to understand to make it right. And so, thank God, I've had people give me chances and work with me, and that's how I work my life. I want to give them chances too, because I'm a person of color. I've been stepped on. I've been had stuff happen to me. And I mean, I've been in lines waiting to check out, and they'll go, oh, next person. And I'm standing right there. Next person, next person. And the people let them do that. Now, I've had some people say, oh, no, she was here first. But, you know, it's why? Why do people do that? I don't know. But, you know, there is just so much going on. But I'm just grateful that people have given me grace and let me come back around and learn and right my wrongs.
Exactly, which brings maybe we need to have a whole other session on self-forgiveness. Self-forgiveness is a super important lesson to learn, and I'm still on that journey. It's hard. It's hard to let go of it when you've done something wrong. So
That's a lifelong journey.
it
Reverend
is.
Carol, that is a lifelong.
Yes.
We're never perfect,
So
and we're never going to be perfect.
we're
You know?
That's true. That's true. And yes, and we are forgiven and we are loved, and we need to learn to bring that in and allow that love in. Joseph wrote in the chat, justice is justified, and yes, reparations are necessary. Love the distinction between forgiving people and the responsibility to repair systems and objects and relationships. So, yeah, that is an important distinction. And wow, this has been a rich discussion. I am so blessed by all of you and by this group. This is lovely. We're nearing the end here, so if people have we've already talked about my favorite thing about what does this tell us about God? How does this shift our image of God? And we've talked about the love and the oneness. Thank you, Joseph. Um, and so I just want to open it up if anybody has any lasting impressions. Gregor, you've been unusually quiet this time around. If anybody has some impressions or other things that they want to say before we close this out.
Just
Yeah,
enjoyed being a melting pot of everything I've heard tonight. It really all falls and it all falls on my ears and it all feels true.
Yes, it's
Yeah.
beautiful.
Hey guys, I can work it out. I go to Google to get but I know the guy so much.
Aw, thanks,
Ah,
Marco.
we love you too, Marco.
Oh, Marco, thank you so much.
That's lovely. All right, Kreger, would you pray us out? And I will not close the room immediately if anybody wants to just discuss off record.
Yes, I would pray us out. Before we begin, let's just all take a deep breath together. Breathe in and breathe out. Holy Spirit, we are in your presence right here, right now, in this moment, as we have been for the last hour, listening for words of wisdom, listening for trinkets that might help us change our lives for the better. We absolutely invite your unconditional love into our lives right here and right now in this moment. And we pray that we can keep asking and praying into that as much as we can remember throughout the day. And we thank you for this opportunity tonight to gather in this time, in this space. So many beautiful opinions and words were expressed this evening, and we thank you for each. And as we move forward in and out of this space, just let us take what we've heard tonight, what we've learned, and let us do a little bit better tomorrow. Let us be just a little bit more tomorrow than we were today. We ask all of this in the holy name of the Christ. Amen.
Amen. Thank you,
Amen.
Craig.
Get together.
Yes, amen, and thank you.
Have a
Bye.
great rest of the week. Bye, everyone.
Mark.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, Marco.
Bye, Mark.